Hello, and welcome back to the BBB Brain Trust Podcast, where you find out who to trust from the people you trust. I'm James Marin, Marketplace Investigator for BBB serving Dallas, Lubbock, and Wichita Falls. When I'm speaking casually in public with people, sometimes I'm asked about the nature of my job. Basically, they want to find out what exactly am I investigating. Sometimes they want to know how we come across the info that we do. Sometimes I'm just met with surprise that BBB actually conducts investigations. Well, I can assure you we do, and it is flesh and blood people who are actually conducting that work. Our stories today are going to highlight the two main types of entities that we do investigate. The first one is going to involve an outright scam that has nationwide reach. The second one will involve a more local issue that involves legitimately registered businesses who are unfortunately behaving badly. Let's get to those stories right now. The first one is by Erica Munoz out of BBB serving Dallas, Lubbock, and Wichita Falls. And here is her investigation. Good afternoon, and we want to thank Erica Munoz, Director of Investigations for BBB serving Dallas, Lubbock, and Wichita Falls. She's with us here today to talk about a recent yet ongoing scam involving, a lot of victims across this country. So, Erica, please tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Okay, yes. Well, thank you. Erica Munoz, Director of Investigations for BBB serving North Central Texas. I've been in this position for 7 years now. So we investigate businesses within our service area that, we or deceptive business practices or any sort of scams going on in our area. We're usually the first ones to hear about it, and so we make sure that we do our investigations and be able to alert the public about what's going on in our area.
And just to give a little bit of insight, Erica and we are the investigations department for our service area.
Yes, we are.
Happy to serve under you, of course. So tell us why we're here today. Tell us about this particular scam that you completed an investigation on recently. Please, let's go over just some of the basics. Let's start with who. Who is actually perpetuating the scam, or do we not know?
So we're going to talk about Lightning Shared Scooters, LSSC. So this scam was actually brought to our attention first through a scam tracker report. And that's basically what prompted this investigation. So what this investment scam is about is you invest into scooters. Those scooters go up for rental through an app, and you're promised daily payouts.
And is this a scooter like the Bird or Lime scooters that we see in our area?
Yes, so it's something like that, which this later we found out that this scooter company is actually not based here. It's based out of another country, out of Hong Kong. And so it's nothing that is local to the U.S.
Now, you mentioned it's an investment scam. So I imagine that there's a front of money or an initial stake of money. Is there anything to do with information or cryptocurrency? Is it just American dollars?
You invest your American dollars. So that's basically what this is. There's no investment as far as crypto. However, later on, we did start to get some reports about some consumers stating that they would have to invest in some sort of crypto as well to try to get any sort of payout. But initially, they want money or dollar investment in the thousands sometimes. The red flag to me was the fact that a lot of these consumers were hearing about it from their family, from their friends, from their church community, and it seemed to target a lot of immigrant communities. And so just kind of having investigated another pyramid scheme in our service area, the red flags of, just kind of the aspect of targeting certain individuals is what stood out to me. We had consumers report, up to $50,000 that they invested into this scam.
I see. All right. So we know essentially who they're calling themselves. And we know what the overt scam is. They want us to invest in scooters, but the company is not here. There's no scooters here. Is that right?
So we opened this investigation because we did find a Texas business registration under Lightning Shared Scooters Company. The address that they provided was, an address over in downtown Dallas, close to the American Airlines Center. It ends up being that it's just a co-working space. It's not a legitimate storefront. But in some other areas, because this was nationwide, we received several scam tracker reports across the nation. Some BBBs reported that they actually did have a storefront with some sort of scooters there to convince consumers that, it's a legitimate business, that they should invest. But here, as far as Dallas, there was no storefront.
Okay, so I want to get this straight because this is actually news that I didn't hear. Okay, so somewhere there's the idea that they set up a mock storefront to give that air of legitimacy. And then they went and put some scooters either in it or out front to say, these are the scooters that you would be investing in.
Yes.
But you have confidence that this is not real. That storefront's not real. Those scooters or whatever, they're just props.
Once BBB got a hold of all the complaints and started to dive into the investigation, these storefronts were just empty. There's nobody there. Consumers' trust is the fact that their own family and their own friends were bringing them into this business opportunity, business endeavor.
The standard people you would trust in your circle.
Exactly.
Okay. We know who, what. Let's get to where. So how is it that consumers or potential victims were encountering this actual scam? Like you said, it was word of mouth, but it had to kind of start somewhere, right? How did the people who start telling their friends and support circle about it? Did they find out online? Did they receive an email? Was it a social media group or like a posting? Do we know? Do we even know how it started?
So from the complaints that we've received from the report, it seems like it was mostly word of mouth. I believe even there was a story that was later put out by NBC of a lady who was I forget what she was, like an elected official in her county, and even she was promoting this investment and got several of her friends and family to join. They each invested in the thousands, and once it came time to try to get those payouts, the company, quote unquote, said that they would have to pay an extra 10% in order to get some sort of payout. Or even said that, they were being investigated, so they're just going to have to wait longer to receive any sort of payouts.
Okay, so the entity, as we'll call it, this Lightning Shared Scooters, they were actually still in contact with the investors, and but you're saying that they now introduced an advance fee they were telling them you have to pay us money in order to get money.
Yeah, you have to pay an additional percentage of your earnings in order to get any sort of payout. And some of that would be requested through some sort of crypto.
Okay. And that's where that element starts to come in.
Yes.
Now, I guess as far as you know, for that crypto element, were they wanting the consumers to send them crypto, essentially convert their dollars to crypto themselves? Or did the company not care and they just wanted the money and they were converting it to some kind of cryptocurrency?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure. Okay. I believe some of the reports stated that they would have to invest in what's the other Bitcoin?
Ethereum.
No, not Ethereum.
Doge.
Coinbase.
Oh, okay. So, the company.
So yes,
that's the company.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're familiar with them. Thing is, we know that their I guess their purported address near us is not real, because that location that you mentioned, the American Airlines, that's just what, maybe a mile and a half.
It's not too far from here, and it's just a co-working space. And just kind of in our research, we did find a Facebook group that was starting to catch on to the fact that they might be scammed. And so they created this group, and in that video, or in that Facebook group, there was a video of somebody going to the location, and the person at the actual co-working space letting them know, like, you know, they're not here. They got evicted. So they might have had some sort of presence there, but by the time we started to get reports about it, there was no longer anybody there.
Okay.
The business filed in Texas in early May of this year.
2025.
2025. By the time
not very old.
No, not very old at all. We opened our investigation beginning of August. Once we started to get a spike in complaints. So what happened is I requested the other BBBs to send us any scam tracker reports that they got regarding LSSC. Once those started to come our way, we started to get that spike in complaints, and so we initiated the investigation. Did create a BBB business profile for LSSC, and that way we could start to capture the complaints and start to get that information from the consumers as to where these consumers were, how much they were investing into this.
Now, I know that you ran the investigation, you concluded it. I have also been assisting with processing the scam trackers that come in from the other BBB service areas, and you get to see them as well. So we both know that there have been a lot, but through that, we also did find out, I think, that they had registered somewhere else. Is that right? Didn't another place have a profile on them because there was a registration or something?
One of our other BBBs had also created a business profile for them because they were getting a lot of reports of about this scam, and so we do have quite a bit of consumers in Florida that were reporting the scam. So the BBB in Florida also initiated their own investigation.
Okay. And we mentioned that only in that if a potential victim is picked up on this and is doing their own research, and they happen across, bbb.org, then they may in fact find that other profile.
Files.
But if they feel that they have been a victim, they need to just submit it to Scam Tracker, and it will find its way to us here in North Texas. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. I mean, easy news for consumers to use, that it's going to get to the right place.
Somebody will review it.
That's fantastic. We've talked about the type of scam. This is basically an investment scam. You give them money, you get nothing in return.
Yes.
It's the wrong kind of investment.
Investment scam, and then in some form even a pyramid scheme, because we don't know exactly who is behind this. The complaints that we have received are from the people that started investing later, and so they're not seeing any sort of payouts. But the consumers don't even know who they're dealing with half the time when they're doing this investment. There seems to be a lot of pseudo names going around, like Francois and a Danny, I believe. And so just names, like there's who knows who these people are, if they even exist. And so, it's not very clear from the beginning who you're turning or investing your money with, or submitting your money to. But LSSC, they have a website. Their website is actually still up. We ended up closing our investigation here just because of the issue surrounding it, and because we wanted to get the word out as soon as possible to alert consumers about what's going on, and so that they're not continuing to invest. We closed our investigation August 18th. Not sure if before or after we closed our investigation, but the company ended up dissolving.
Okay.
As far as our filing here in Dallas.
So so we're already seeing signs that they're moving. They're moving around.
They're moving around.
Okay.
New reports that we've gotten different names. Where now the people that are leading this are asking consumers to move their money or invest their money in a different sort of endeavor. And so there have been a few names floating around for what could still be the same sort of scam, just different name.
So if a consumer could find the profile we created specifically for this and those that had filed the complaints already, is there a chance they could see or be able to search any of the new aliases you just mentioned? Are those also being put out for the public, or is it just internal?
So far, I think we just have that internal, but now that the investigation has closed, we could post that information to the public so that they are aware of, that it's the same scheme, just different name.
And again, that's really just for the consumers to know that, look, as they're moving, they're willing to change essentially the drapes and everything, the sign outside. Yeah. And but if it is still this, if it still has the major components of being investment, there's a crypto component, and it has something to do with a deliverable that is not even here in the United States for someone to see or touch, then, maybe think twice, maybe even think a third time, before investing in that.
When you're talking about investments, really the agency that oversees that is the SEC, so the Securities and Exchange Commission. So anytime that you're looking to invest, double check with their website, sec.gov. You can do your own search. It's under their Edgar search is what they call it. And just look up the firm name, look up the person, just to make sure that, it is a legitimate investment that you're about to make. LSSC did not have this company registered with the SEC.
Huge red flag.
Huge red flag. But also they were advertising. LSSC was advertising under a different name, which is Lightning Exchange. Just to confuse consumers, to make consumers believe that they were investing with a legitimate company. But Lightning Exchange, as far as we know, is not affiliated or related to LSSC.
Right. And in that research, we found out that the Lightning Exchange entity could very much be a real one, legitimate, but the LSSC was trying to hide behind their legitimacy.
Behind their similar name.
Right. Okay. All right. So something else for consumers to look for, is if it's coming out of nowhere, especially like if you have not sought out this investment opportunity, and it's just coming to you only, like you said, word of mouth, essentially. This is probably not the investment for anybody.
Yeah, and I know that, when friends, family is, trying to convince you to join into this business opportunity with them, that it might be hard for you to think twice and maybe even do your research because you automatically trust them. They're your family, they're your friends. But, when we're talking about investing, there are certain agencies that oversee these kinds of things. And so it's important that you do your research before you hand over thousands of dollars. And, whatever the company is showing you or trying to advertise to you, you might want to verify. Because like I said, they were trying to hide behind, a Lightning Exchange name that was... that has some sort of certificate with the SEC, and so
check for misspellings.
Yes.
Bad grammar.
Yeah. So all these red flags that popped up, and we immediately just knew that we had to initiate our investigation and get the word out. We put out a press release, and NBC also was interested, and so they picked it up and they did a story on LSSC. Because it is affecting or has affected consumers nationwide.
So let's talk some dollars. And in your opinion, from what you've seen reported, what kind of money are we talking about? Are we talking about like $100, $1,000, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands? Like where do I stop? Like where what's it seem like?
We're talking thousands, and just for number wise here in Dallas, we had over 60 complaints, 60 consumers.
Wow.
That have all invested thousands of dollars, and that's just here. Those are the consumers that have reported it. There are some consumers that may have not reported it yet. But it's hard to say exactly how much, but I would estimate that this scheme has already gone up to even the millions.
Wow, that is quite a bit, and that means that there's quite a, like you said, there have to be consumers that had yet to report. Maybe they don't know to report. Maybe they feel a little embarrassed to be reported. Maybe they have figured this out. But we encourage anybody, no matter what, if you have a family member that ends up being the victim, do not worry about embarrassment with us. We're BBB. We're here to help. We are the people to report this to. And with Scam Tracker, you can assist someone who may not be computer literate, or they don't have access to the internet, or they just might be a little anxious about what to say. You can help submit that for them at bbb.org/scam tracker.
Yeah, that's correct. We partner with law enforcement. We partner with regulatory agencies, meaning that we give them our information. So once an investigation is completed here, we hand that information over to them to hopefully, initiate a case, or for them to open an or take legal action. But it's important that consumers report, because the more information, the more victims, then the Texas Attorney General or the Federal Trade Commission or the SEC will more than likely take an interest and initiate a case on that. It's not guaranteed. We can't promise that, but what we can do is hand that information over to them, because usually when people they're have fallen victim to a scam, or have some sort of complaint, they usually report it to us. They report it to BBB first, as opposed to reporting it to the Texas Attorney General's office first, or even the FTC. Our information, it doesn't just sit here. It does get handed over to the appropriate agencies.
Fantastic, yes, and it's been useful to have their participation.
Yes.
With us to go after any of the actual scams or some of the actual bad businesses that that exist here.
Yeah, and regulatory agencies, they want to know what's going on in their own backyard. And so, we are an office here in downtown Dallas. We're here, and so consumers can put a face to who is doing investigations or handles anything else related to BBB. But yeah, it's just important that consumers report it, whether it's it's a scam or if it's some sort of complaint, to investigate those business practices.
Well, this is all great. Just out of curiosity, so I guess you had mentioned earlier about all the work or the effort that this scam had conducted to appear legitimate. Have anybody tried to respond to your correspondence when reaching out to this entity?
No, nobody responded.
Nobody. Okay.
Nobody
We'll
responded.
put up a storefront, but we're not going to use a word processor.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nobody has responded.
All right. Well, here at BBB, we will respond. So, like she said, please submit your complaints at bbb.org, or submit your Scam Tracker submission if you, again, were a victim, or if you're close potential victim. Please, we would like to hear your information or anything you can provide. You can include attachments if you have digital photos or anything like that. You can add that to the Scam Tracker submission when you are filling that out. And our next episode will actually be an update of a pet scam study. So we look forward to that in November.
Oh, yes.
And if there's anything else breaking, I'm sure Erica will let us know.
Yeah, definitely. Holidays are coming up, so there's definitely, scammers know this and know that people will be shopping online. And so they use these, these sort of times of the year to target consumers. So.
That's right. Well, we're busy too. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining us, Erica. I appreciate
Thank you, James.
it.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you to Erica Munoz for that information regarding that scooter investment scam. For our next story involving legitimately registered businesses, we go to Jessie Swaffer out of Northern Indiana BBB. Here is her investigation. Hi, and with us today we have Jessie Swaffer out of Northern Indiana BBB, who has a unique investigation that she has concluded here. And this one is an example of where BBB will get involved with legitimate businesses that are otherwise behaving badly. So, Jessie, thank you for joining us, and tell us a little bit about what you do there.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So, again, my name is Jessie Swaffer. I'm out of the Northern Indiana Better Business Bureau. We are centered in Fort Wayne, and we cover all of Northern Indiana, 23 counties across east to west. Um, and so, I am the core services compliance specialist, and I handle compliance as a whole: ad reviews, investigations, logo violations, vetting applications. I do oversee the scam tracker procedure and the MAP-MIPS procedure as well, making sure that those are up to date and getting done. And then I handle any escalations that come from those as well. So if there's a business that we've had accredited or something, a scam tracker that needs to be escalated, that comes to me as well.
So you're definitely staying busy from what I hear.
Yes, all the things.
Now, we've had a chance to talk behind the scenes a little bit about this particular investigation. So why don't you let everybody else in on what exactly is going on?
Yeah, so this investigation has actually been going on for a long time. And by a long time, I mean like 3 years, give or
Yes.
take, sort of on and off. This is a roofing company that had applied for accreditation back in 2021. So even before my time at the BBB, they had applied for accreditation. They were denied basically because of no licensing. And in our county, in several counties in Indiana, they don't have an overarching state license for construction or remodeling or anything like that. They have a few state licenses, but for things like remodeling and construction, it's very difficult to figure out where you need to be licensed. And in Allen County, which is where we're located and this business is located, they do require licensing for any type of remodeling that you are going to do. Whether you're going to do HVAC, plumbing, electrical, it doesn't matter. If you knock down a wall, you have to have a license for it. So we found out, we reached out to the county. They let us know, no, we don't have this business on our list. They're not registered and they're not licensed with us. So based on BBB standards, you're not in compliance with the law. You can't be accredited. So they were denied for accreditation originally in 2021. And then from that point, over the years, they have just continued to pop up in one way or another. There was a complaint filed in 2021 and it carried over into March of 2022. It went unanswered by the business. And then we received information from the consumer later on that the business had allegedly reached out to them and pressured them into removing the complaint, saying, well, we worked this out on our own. Please take that down. And so the consumer reached out to us. It was very uncomfortable with the situation. And we essentially reached out to the business owner and tried to figure out what was going on. And it was just kind of a mess. They did have a logo violation in 2022, which was after they were denied. So that was something that we went after. And then in 2023, so that it kind of died down a little bit after that. So at the time, the business name was listed as Red Wolf Roofing LLC. And so we kind of put that away. Okay, hey, just check on this one. If you get any more complaints, let's look into it. With the allegations that the principal was pressuring their consumers to take down any reviews or complaints, that's a red flag. So we just kind of had our eyes on it for a little while and then just let it die off. And then in 2023, another logo violation happened. They put it up again. We had multiple scam tracker reports coming in about the business saying that they would take down payments and they would never come and complete the work. They would do an estimate, or they would come in and say, oh, they would start the work and we need more money for more materials, or this costs more than we thought it was going to. And they would just ghost them essentially. So people were reporting them as a scam. So then, we would have to refer them to, this is a legitimate business. So we'd have to refer them to complaints. And we did get a very clear pattern of complaint in 2023. Red Wolf Roofing, as of this point, not including the expired complaints, has still 11 active complaints on their profile within 2023. They had answered them in the beginning of the year, and then in August of 2023, they stopped answering them altogether. And it was kind of like they just sort of fell off the map. as Red Wolf Roofing. And then, oddly enough, we received calls coming in asking about and also complaining about a company called Big Dog Roofing. And upon further research, we found that the same principal was listed for both. So he had just rebranded and was doing the same things. Now, one of the things that caught us off a little bit and made it a little more difficult to do the investigation and to just have a clear understanding of like, oh, this business is really messing up, is they would do legitimate work for people. They would go in, they would do a good job and a good roofing job, and they would get just enough credibility from consumers to seem like they were a good business and build clout in the community. And then there were others that they would not do that for, and they would do a bad job, and we would get complaints on, and scam trackers, and they would take their money and run. So it was kind of that weird juxtaposition where we were like, well, how do we handle this? There is currently, for Big Dog Roofing, there is only one complaint. They had a really bad name with Red Wolf, and they tried to clean it up a little bit for Big Dog. So we are starting to get more calls about them again. We have gotten several actually this year within the last 6 months, people calling in and asking about them and just not really sure, kind of hesitant. And we have to remain unbiased, right? But at the same time, you do need to make sure that consumers are aware that if you're not sure about a company, here are some accredited businesses.
Right.
So that's kind of where we ended up. Yes, exactly. Go to bbb.org. So that's kind of where we ended up with Big Dog. Because I do the vetting for the applications and I do the investigations, when I vet my businesses, I just use mine, right? I'm just like Instagram, whatever. I look them up on Instagram. So a lot of the ads that come through my personal social media are for roofing companies and construction companies and businesses and things like that, which is fine because it saves me money from the pop-up ads. But one that came up was for Big Dog. And I was like, ooh, I know this name. I know this person. I know what's going on. So I scrolled and I looked at the ad and I clicked on the link that said get a quote. And lo and behold, there was a logo violation. So I was like, there's my in. Reached out, sent the logo violation letter. And then that's kind of where, when I came into the BBB as the compliance specialist, that's where the beginning of this really kind of came to light on my plate. And I was able to look back and kind of bring all of it together.
All right. Well, so there's a lot to suss through there. So this does, like you said, this has been going on for almost 3 years, or, easily 2. So a lot has happened, and, good job on being able to keep track of it. So just to be clear, did this business first come across as Red Wolf Roofing LLC because of complaints, or was it because they reached out to your BBB for accreditation, to apply for accreditation?
Yeah, it was the accreditation that
Okay.
put them on our radar.
Okay.
And then because they were denied for not having licensing, that's just something with those things like that where we're aware of. We're probably going to get complaints about them.
Okay.
Especially in Allen County. If a construction company goes in and you're not licensed and you're supposed to be, that's a really big red flag.
Okay. And you're right. From state to state, licensures they do differ. So, for anybody, it sounds like the culture of the people that live within those counties, that they know that this company should have a particular license. And from what I get from you, the people who file complaints, they probably didn't. It wasn't comfortable for them to do business with it, knowing that they were missing that licensure. And okay, and as typical, mostly for our viewers and listeners, is that when a business does actually come to BBB on their own, applying to become an accredited business, they are going to go through a vetting process no matter what. And it just so happened that, because they were not covering all their bases as they should, per your state law, you had to deny them, which is perfectly standard, and we should, we would do the same here in the North Texas market for the required licensures, for those industries that we vet. And if they don't have
Mm-hmm.
it, we do the same thing, and we'll let
Right.
them know, I mean, there's no
Right.
mysteries, BBB's as transparent as we can be. And we always let them know. And sometimes those businesses will just, they'll get an active license. We will
Yep.
have a verification of it. And then usually it's kind of no muss, no fuss, provided there's no other issues.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned also pursuit of logo violations. So
Yes.
just explain a little bit of what you mean by logo violations, just for
Yeah.
our listeners.
Yeah, so if a business is not accredited with the Better Business Bureau, they are not legally allowed to use our torch, our BBB logo. It's very distinctive. You know what it looks like. It looks like this, okay?
Right.
So you're not allowed to use that. It's a trademark violation, just like
Oh,
you
yeah.
couldn't use the official. Yep, there we go. Twinning is winning. Just like you can't use a Disney logo, right, on something that you print at home, or the Nike logo. It's a federal trademark violation. So that's not, while sure, from a company standpoint, I wouldn't want somebody using my company logo if they weren't affiliated with me. For us, really, it's a legal matter. So when a business is not accredited with, which is what accreditation is affiliation, a partnership with us. When you don't have that partnership, you are not legally allowed to put this anywhere with your business, and they did end up taking down the link. So that's what a logo violation is, when a business not affiliated with the BBB is using our logo.
Right. And again, full disclosure, I also pursue trademark misuse in my area. So again, we're doing the same kind of job for our particular
Mm-hmm.
service areas.
Yeah.
And, again, a note for any of our listeners or viewers is that what Jesse's saying is right. And so businesses, if they're doing it with really, in the best way, I guess, just they don't mean to violate the trademark. They're
Mm-hmm.
very quick to correct that. It's no
Mm-hmm.
muss, no fuss. We can all move forward and wish each other the best. But every now and then I do encounter similar to you. It's good to hear that they did not provide too much pushback. It sounds like regarding the trademarks. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, they were pretty good about taking them down. This last one, this is really where I was tying up this investigation that had been going on for 2 or 3 years. Because for those listeners, if you're not part of the BBB, the biggest thing about the Better Business Bureau is that we are a reporting agency. It is literally our whole mission, and help create an ethical and trustworthy marketplace, which is also why it's such a big deal, because that is the standard, the symbol of trust with the business, is for you to have our torch and say, hey, BBB checked us out. They vetted us. They said, we're good to go. I sent him the initial logo violation letter. He responded very respectfully, very kindly. He said that he was not actually the owner, and we like to use the word principal, of Big Dog Roofing, LLC. And he gave me a name and said, this person is the owner. I went to see if the business was registered. Lo and behold, it is registered as an LLC, but it's registered as Big Dog Roofs, LLC. And in the email that he responded to me regarding the logo violation, he said, I'd love to get him accredited. I think the BBB is great. All these things. And with that information, it was very easy to find what we needed to find and to say what we needed to say. They can click on that alert now and see that profile, go to that profile and see 11 open complaints, unanswered, F rating. It's not a pretty profile.
Yeah, definitely not one you would hold up as like perhaps a potential torch award winner,
No,
adhering
no, I
to the
would not.
BBB standards. Um,
Correct.
this is all good info. You're touching on parts that when we try to explain what it is that we actually do in our positions relating to BBB, because a lot of people, if they know BBB, they know complaints. Sometimes they know just like searching for stuff or the BBB rating system to some degree. They're familiar with seeing the letters. This is touching on how we as investigators encounter businesses that are potentially behaving badly. We have our standard and we go as far as we can. I'm glad that the opportunities presented themselves for you to gather the information you needed to make those connections. This is also shows how investigations, they're not always as neat or timely as someone who is coming to file a complaint on a recent experience, or if a customer's even leaving a review on, again, a very recent experience. Your investigation spanned years, but that's what it means to do the full work to the best of our ability. For anything that we don't know, we're not going to report on it unless we have something to back it up. However, it is our job that if we feel there is an entity out there, whether it's legitimate or illegitimate, part of our job is to let consumers know. You decide for yourself. You're absolutely correct. If people don't know, is that, like you said, the torch, the BBB, all of this is registered trademark, but so is the verbiage accredited business. If anybody sees that out there and then you go to search for that business, if it says this is not an accredited business, well, then you know that they're not using that properly. You said that custom text is now on the profile, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And is it on just one profile? Is it on the profile for all of the businesses that were involved?
Right now it is on the Big Dog Roofing profile, and it is on Red Wolf Roofing profile. So Red Wolf Roofing, we actually, through the Big Dog investigation, we opened a pattern of complaint on the Red Wolf Roofing, a pattern of complaint alert custom text on that profile for Red Wolf. Big Dog has those two profile alerts. The secondary alert is an ad review. That one, actually, their website for Big Dog, even though they took down the logo, they still have a GAF certified, which is a roofing certification. They have an ARMA Excellence Award certification on their website. And they have veteran-owned logo on their website. And while the crossover principal is a veteran, if he's being honest and saying that he doesn't own the business, the man that he said owns the business is not a veteran.
That's correct.
So you either are the owner or you have to take that off. I looked into the GAF certification and I searched it under every name that I could possibly find. I could not verify that that was accurate information, that they were not certified. And I also reached out to ARMA if this business had been awarded the Excellence Award, and I can't remember which one specifically. I think it's roofing. And they said no. I reached out to the business owner then. You have these things on your website. Can you give us substantiation? Because the BBB, we start with trust. I'm going to ask you. I reached out in June, July. I gave them plenty of time. Then I reached out again just recently, a few weeks ago, to really just wrap it up. And I sent him what we were going to put on there, so they're aware. And he responded to my email and said, I'll look into it.
And that was the last?
That was it.
Understood. So they're possibly using other logos, but it will be up to those individual entities that run that to police and monitor those. For the complaints, were you finding that most were coming from inside the state of Indiana, or were there many without of the borders?
No. So the majority of them were within our service area, if not all, actually. So, and I think the majority of that even was in our county. They didn't really stray outside of Allen County. If they did, it was maybe a bordering county. But yeah, the most of them were coming from within Allen County.
Okay. Well, in a small way, that's fortunate because it means that the potential dissatisfied customers are all kind of within an area. All of this was good, and I appreciate your work on this. And to be sure, this investigation is now concluded. Everything that is for the consumer is on the profiles that we had mentioned.
Yes.
If the business comes back, then you can re-engage with them if they want to make good on what they said they would improve or change.
That's the biggest thing with legitimate businesses is that you can always change your ways.
Right.
Right. I mean, there is an expiration date to things. And if you want to clean up your act and come back and figure it out, we will help you do that. We want you to be legitimate. We want you to be a good business, ethical and trustworthy.
Understood. Well, And you're right. When they're ready to start with trust, we're going to be right here ready to start with them. We're always telling businesses, we're always willing to re-engage with them, when they want to come back, whether, hopefully in good faith that they have made any improvements. Thank you again. Great work. I want you to keep it up.
Sure.
We would love to hear more, in the future.
Yeah, of course. I have more.
Unfortunately,
there will always be more. So yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
No problem. We'll sign off. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Sounds good. Bye.
I once again thank Erica Munoz out of BBB serving Dallas, Lubbock, Wichita Falls. And thank you to Jessie Swaffer out of Northern Indiana BBB for their separate investigative work and for contributing to this podcast episode. You may like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and on Spotify so that you may be alerted as future episodes are published. As always, if you believe that you may have been a victim of a scam, or if you know someone who has, please report that online at bbb.org/scamtracker. Until next time, please stay safe.